Good everyone. I hope you guys have an amazing day. So in the last episode, I did mention about introduction to net zero cloud, right? And I spoke about different entities associated with climate change, a different terminology, which I hope that by now you guys will be in a better position to understand if if for any reason if I wanted to use the same terminology in my future session. So what I'm going to do today, right? I have to, unfortunately, I have to deal with theory again in this episode because I just wanted to make sure that you guys really understand, right? Why exactly we're going to use net zero cloud. It's okay. I spoke about, the carbon footprint and emission tracking stuff, right, in the previous episode. But that's great. But if you are a business owner and you're still struggling to find a value of using net zero cloud, then I just wanted to highlight a few of the stuff so that I wanted to break it down for you so that it's become easy for you to understand that it's a good return of investment from your end. Okay, let me maximize this stuff here. Okay, so advantage of net zero cloud, right? Why do we need a net zero cloud, especially the Salesforce one? So the first thing is that I took this from Trailhead, right? So please don't blame me from plagiarism. So I'm just coding it from a Trailhead. So everything is from a Trailhead. Okay. So I just put it in a fancy uh, slides. That's all I did. Um, and then I wanted to share my own experience as well. So okay, the first thing, right? The breakdown, the data silos, right? Now, this is one of the important components, I would say, if you're considering using net zero cloud, because obviously you wanted to have a trusted data in your org, okay, and Salesforce obviously will give you that option to load the data from a different source. So break down the data silos will actually provide companies with the trusted data because the Salesforce platform offers a single source of truth, which is pretty important, right? If you're a company who wanted to go net zero, let's say by 2030, then you need to have a data in place where you can make informed decision. Okay, so that's uh, comes to my so that adds to my second point. Enable the users to record data from various sources. So as a company, you might do some uh, the business travel, corporate travel. You might be using electricity. You might be using direct fuel use, maybe in the form of the car you drive, or maybe you have, six-seater plane or eight-seater plane, right, to take you from one place to another place. So what this cloud will do, right? It will help you track the energy consumption and helps you calculate the emission of each of these sources using different emission factors. Because if you wanted to reduce your carbon emissions, right, you obviously need to have a data in place to understand whether if there is a problem to begin with. Okay, if you don't have any tracking metrics in place, how would you know that, right? You need to act on your carbon emissions. So net zero cloud will give you that advantage, and that's a pretty good advantage, I would say. Um, Now, another thing is that I want to talk about helps evaluate corporate environmental impact. Okay, so obviously, when you're using Salesforce, right, you will be given an option to build dashboards, and also it comes with a pre-built analytics dashboard, right? And it's complex and rich data visualization tool will actually give you that added advantage in form of a visualization option. Okay, now help companies easily incorporate procurement data. Okay, so this is normally done for estimating their value chain emission and convert spending data into emission estimates. Now, the another advantage is comes with a preloaded reference data set, which is pretty important because obviously, Salesforce includes data set from different agencies, like first of all, EPA, which is U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. You also get from UK Department for Business. Then you also get it from IPCC, which is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So you will be provided with a preloaded reference data set. Okay, right. Now, enable companies to create climate action commitments. And so what that will do, right, it will set a science-based target which align with, the sustainability commitments. So, which is pretty cool, right? Now, you can also talk about how companies forecast emissions, which is, by you can forecast by activity type, for upcoming periods, and you can use that forecast uh, data to track targets. So that's one advantage, I would say. Um, then we also talk about supplier sustainability. Okay, so you can use the scorecards, kind of a scoring metrics, to identify suppliers that don't yet have science-based target. Because they remember this one, right? So everything matters. The suppliers you're dealing with, energy you consume, right? For instance, we use gas for heating. We use electricity for cooking, right? Because our stove and oven works on electric stuff, and but the heating stuff, right? The heating pump that works on the gas. So we are looking to reduce the carbon emission to see if we can if we can reduce the dependency on natural gas. So as a business, that's something we are looking forward to it. And Net Zero Cloud actually gives us an option where we can keep track of our carbon emission, and which is pretty cool in my opinion. I, as a business owner, find Net Zero Cloud very valuable. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to encourage other business if you're on Salesforce platform, give a try and see if it works for you, right? Okay. Enable companies to manage water usage data, which is um, it's actually helps you calculate the water footprint, which is kind of important. Serves as one-step solution for companies to easily manage all their carbon credit information. So it can be actual credits or it can be the projects. So okay, now we often talk about emissions, right? So greenhouse emissions. So now there's something called greenhouse protocols. Okay, and according to them, so a greenhouse. So if you go to Greenhouse Protocol, there's a website. So it is ghgprotocol.org. So it's GHG protocol. So you can read about all the kind of protocols there. Um, so these protocols, right? They have established um, the three scope four emission three emission scopes. One is the scope one, scope two, and scope three. Okay, so now each scope is important. If you're a business owner, you have an opportunity to see which scope your company comes under. Okay, so the first one we talk about scope one. So it normally talks about emission that result from direct activities for a company, like for instance, you own a gas car, sorry, petrol or diesel. Your so that's one of the part of scope one, and the fuel usage for corporate shuttles. For instance, if you're taking a shuttle, that's one of the example of scope one. Natural gas combustion in own buildings. That's another example of the scope one. You know, corporate private jet travel. That's could be another example of scope one. Yeah. So, these scope one will be more directly related to, company's usual day-to-day activity, at least, driving a car. Sorry if you hear that, uh, the bike sound. My apologies for that. I think it's my neighbor. Um, then you can also, yeah, so if you're using, like I said, right, we use natural gas for heating. stuff, right? So that comes under scope one. Yeah. Okay. So now let's talk about the scope two, right? Scope two is an emission that results from the generation of purchased energy consumed by a company, such as buying for heating and cooling, buying electricity. Um, so uh, leaked refrigerants at some facilities, it comes under scope two. Uh, Generator fuels used at the least facilities could be considered under scope two, right? So we don't use it. Um, so like I said about the natural gas, what we use, that can be classified under scope two as well, right? Because we are actually buying the natural gas for heating purpose. So yeah, I mean you can add into scope two better than scope one. So yeah, then we have scope three, right? Scope three, it's an emission from all indirect source in your company value chain, right? Such as the things you buy, the distribution and transportation of the good. For instance, capital good, purchase goods and services, your use of sold products, end of life treatment of solid products that could come under scope three, right? So different things. Okay, now you can also one of the important thing what you can do with the net zero cloud is you can quantify emission with the carbon accounting. Okay, so what that will do is that you can actually identify your asset and emission source. You can like I said, you can record activity and energy consumption data like your travel record or utility bill kind of stuff. You can also review your calculated CHD emission carbon so you can create your carbon footprint records. You can also audit your carbon footprint data. So you can do all of this stuff using net zero cloud, right? So I mean, if this kind of information is overwhelming, then I would highly encourage you to go to the greenhouse protocol site and read about it, right? That's one of the reason why I wanted to educate you guys around different terms, right? Because obviously, using net zero cloud just for the sake of using it is pointless, right? Unless you don't understand the reason behind using it, right? You can't really make best use of the tool. Okay, so okay, now there's one chart I wanted to show, a kind of a diagram. So, so as a business, what you can do with the net zero cloud, the stuff you can do. So the first thing you can do, identify asset and emission source, right? Then you can record activity and uh, energy consumption data. Then you can load, upload data set from different agencies. You can do that. Then review the calculated CHD emissions. Then you can create a carbon footprint records. Then you can audit it, and you can create annual emission inventory. So these things you can do using the net zero cloud usage. Excuse me. You can also do track waste, right? Along with energy use, right? You can also use this for to observe the waste generated from different activities, right? Weight specific emission, I would say. Um, so we gotta look at all of this stuff, right? I mean, when we get into hands-on stuff. So you can also manage your water use and all kind of stuff. You can pretty much track it here, which is pretty cool. Okay, so now when I look at the net zero cloud, right? I hope I demonstrated in my previous episode how to register for an org, right? It's a 30 days trial. So, and that's 30 days trial, and then after that, you can contact someone from Salesforce to enable it for you. On Okay, and then now you can see that there are a lot of options here, right? You can so you probably will get something this right when you log in for the first time. Then on the right hand side, you have information about the things you can do, right? You can go to the trail mix, or you can go to the developer guide. This is always my favorite, the Net Zero Developer Guide. It takes you to Salesforce developers. It's usually handy for developers. So where you can actually talk about, no, where actually, yeah, we can, where you can actually talk about APIs with another developers, right? So it talks about different objects. So if you look at the standard objects, what you got, so we got to look at some of the object model, right? So what I'll do, I will go to the setup, yeah, and under setup, I will look at object manager. So let's look at an object, right? So what is that we are after? Net zero cloud data model. Is that an object? Oh yeah, this is an object model. We're gonna look at that later. So for now, let me look at one of the stuff, right? Energy. Okay. Uh, I'm not sure if there's an object. Let me try to see if it even exists. Obviously, uh, no. Air travel. Oh yeah, air travel. Oh yeah. I found it. Yeah, this is the one, right? These are the standard object that um, when you use Net Zero Cloud, right? When you install the package Net Zero Cloud package, you will get these objects, out of box object as a part of the Net Zero Cloud, right? And you can come here, right, in the developer guide, you can see what each object means, right? For instance, this one, right? Air travel emission factor. So it normally talks about emission factor for scope 3 commercial air travel. So now you must be wondering, right, what is scope 3? So that exactly the same thing I mentioned, scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to cover these topics so that you guys don't get confused when you encounter terms like this. What is scope 3, right? If you have never heard about the scope 3 based on the greenhouse protocol, then you will not understand what this is even means, right? So and then it contains the different fields and kind of stuff, right? So and then you have anti-corruption stuff, and then you have a carbon credit allocation. We gotta look at when we do some hands-on, right? But just wanted to give you an idea what all the standard out-of-box objects we have, like for instance carbon credit, right? So information about how carbon credits are allocated by an organization to offset their emission. This object is available in API version 56 and later. So if you're using 55, you won't be seeing it. So these things, I mean, I can go through all of you if you like, but it makes okay. Let's go through anyways, right? We got time. Okay, so this is the air travel emission factor. I spoke about it. Then air travel energy use. So it represents the energy consumed related to air travel. So this object is available 54 or later. Then we have anti-corruption, which is the initiative taken by an organization or companies to communicate and train the employee in anti-corruption policies. Right, anti-corruption is a very big thing, so just need to keep that in consideration. It's available in version 57 and later. Annual emission inventory. It gives information about companies' total carbon emission for a particular year in metric tons. So this everything is measured here in metric tons, right? So just remember that. That's how your carbon credits will be calculated. Everything in form of metric tons of CO2e. Yeah, this emissions are some of emissions in scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. See, the scopes are coming here, right? Are getting used often. So it's very important you guys understand scope, right? So I can't emphasize enough, so it's important. Okay, then annual emission reading. I don't know what does it even mean. Um, Annual emission something. Let's look at it. What the heck it even means. Let's go here. If you're not sure, um, which one is it? This one, right? Reduction target. Oh, okay. All right. All right. So, okay, rejection target set by a company for a specific year, right? Okay, then we have building energy intensity, which represent the average energy intensity by fuel type set across the set of buildings, right? You can derive this data from different sources. Uh, so then building energy intensity value, I guess, intensity for individual fuel type. Okay, average value. Okay, for intensity for an individual fuel type across the set of building. It got different fields, right? So you can go through it if you like. Building size, then we got mean, I'm not sure if I should be covering all of this. I mean, obviously you guys can read it, but if you just want it, I can keep going, not a problem. Um, so this is the building size category, which is, kind of uh, filter the criteria for the building energy intensity record. So, when you're building a solution, right, on a net zero cloud, right, just make sure that you go through standard objects instead of creating a custom object, because it's pointless when there's already an object in place, right? Now you know about different energy things you can calculate, anti-corruption stuff you can calculate, carbon credit you can talk about it, right? Then you lots to do with the carbon. Whenever you see, let's say you wanted to do something with the carbon, just go and type it here, right? Just say what all the stuff you have, right? It's good to do your due diligence before you even start thinking about using a custom object. That's very important in my opinion. So you got carbon allocation, allocation item, distribution, credit project kind of stuff, right? Different stuff. Okay, so I think that's pretty much. Then you have fuel type, right? Financial stuff, inflation rate. Let's look at inflation rate, right? Inflation rate that's used to adjust currency from one year to another. Okay, that's cool. I'm not sure why they mention inflation here. It's just point of relevance. But okay, so now we have the APIs. So we got the Net Zero Cloud APIs that sometimes, okay, you can access Net Zero Business API using REST endpoints. Okay, so let's look at the REST. So you have resource. So this is a resource you got. Oh yeah, so we got different APIs, right? You got allocate scorecard emissions, allocate scorecard procurement items, carbon footprint recalculation. So there are a lot of out-of-box APIs which you can use, right? Local record. Yeah. So yeah, different things you can do. So just go through it. Then you have metadata API, different kind of stuff, right? Tooling API and calculation, right? Different energy use records and kind of stuff. I mean, if you want, I can pretty much show you one demo over the course of time. That's not a problem for me, because it's anyway I enjoy building stuff. Right, that's the most fun part, rather than just talking. Right, because I'm the kind of person who like to walk the talk rather than just talk. Right. Because if you do just talk, it has no substance, right? Anybody can talk. ChatGPT can talk, right? So what's the use of humans then, if you're only there to talk, right? You need to do okay talk, right? Yeah, I'm as you can see, I'm a passionate guy when it comes to doing hands-on programming, building stuff. Yeah, I believe in innovation, right? That's what drives me every single day. Okay, sorry I digress. My apologies. Sometimes I talk too much. My apologies. Right. So net zero calculation, we got, like I said, right? You know, you can do different stuff here. Energy. Um, so this is right. Energy use records, calculate emission based and kind of stuff, right? I mean, you can go through it if you like. So I won't be covering in detail today, at least. Maybe in the future we can look at it, right, when we get into the hands-on side of things. So yeah, that's pretty much I wanted to cover in today's episode. My apologies if you're hearing the rain. It's just raining, just like temperature dropped down, maybe I think 10 degree or something. I mean, we are in autumn now, right? You must be sitting in Europe and might be looking forward to it. Summer, we are looking forward to it. Winter, right? Because we are in the southern hemisphere in New Zealand, so when it's winter in Europe or in North America, then it's kind of a summer here. So and vice versa. Right. So that's all I wanted to cover. Hope you guys have an amazing Tuesday. Adios.